resources. The really great thing about open educational resources from an instructor's standpoint is that you can take chapters 1, 3, and 5 from this textbook, chapters 2, 4, and 6 from this textbook, and mix it together and create a textbook tailored to students in your particular course. So not only does it have benefits from an instructor's perspective, but it's also been proven to increase student engagement and interest in the courses where they do have open. As you mentioned, they are in line with the AMS policy on affordability and accessibility, and as such, they are a free alternative to textbooks. So once again, I am in complete agreement of continuing to advocate for increased use of open educational resources at UBC.
Thank you. Samantha?
This year's campaign for open educational resources has been pretty successful in my opinion. I particularly like the Textbook Broke BC campaign because it actually engaged with students in person, and students actually came up to the volunteers, I was one of them, and asked how can I get involved with this further? And that's a great sign, because that means students are caring, they're aware we're trying to do something, which means they're going to try and help us. And we'll hear more about their opinions of how they ways in which I would continue this campaign for this term is continuing to build relationships with the university and ensuring that the university is on the same page as us in all our discussions, and working on more projects that will engage students on the same level that the Textbook Broke BC campaign did, as well as for
10 seconds.
Open textbooks. I would really like to perhaps utilize standout faculty members to encourage other members of their departments and areas to utilize open textbooks.
Thank you. Andrew, yeah, we'll just have to work around that. Thanks.
Yeah, I mean, why wouldn't we want to pursue open educational resources? I mean, anything that we can do to make education more affordable and accessible to anyone is obviously something that we should all pursue and push for. Though, I like to think that I represent the average student in the sense that I engage myself with a lot of issues on campus, but not so much with the AMS. And actually, while researching for this role, this is actually among the first times I came across open education, which does not bode well for the program if average students are just coming across it now. So outreach is going to be a huge component of this as well, because if a lot of students are just coming across it now, if I'm just coming across it now and I'm running through this job, how many other students in the nest of
10 seconds.
have no idea about these resources? So we definitely need to work with the government, but we also need to push really hard for outreach.
Thank you. Does anyone have a rebuttal? Excellent. We'll move on to the second question of today. Let's pass that mic back down to Hassan. So the VP AUA office, the VP Academic and University Affairs office is intimately involved in campus development projects at all stages, though this is the least known part of the portfolio. The office has a very good relationship with campus and community planning, and their principles of engagement have been used as a baseline for consultations around campus. How would you leverage these engagement principles to better the consultation process with the university? We'll start with Hassan again.
All right. I'm definitely in agreement that this is definitely one of the lesser known components of the portfolio. Working with campus and community planning, stated they do have what I believe is a phenomenal set of engagement principles that they do use when they they have phenomenal bits of engagement principles that they do use for a lot of their projects. And so I think regardless of a lot of initiatives that come up, and regardless of whether the VPAUA's office is in agreement with a lot of those initiatives, the way they go about consulting students, I think is quite commendable, and it would be critical as the VPAUA to leverage those engagement principles when dealing with a number of issues requiring consultation in the portfolio.
Thank you. Samantha?
Hello. So I learned about the campus development part of the portfolio 2 weeks ago, and was a little upset that someone who's interested in this position and has worked with education and academics within the school and university affairs hadn't really known too much about campus development. I mean, I know the UBC did a great article on Site B, I believe, that's right in the middle of the bus loopy area, and it's going to include housing that I believe is not specifically for students. It's going to be private housing. Please do correct me if I'm wrong. And aside from the UBC article, I have not heard that much about it, and so I'd really like to make sure that these engagement principles are going to be used every time there's a project coming through, and if possible, I'd like to more publicly inform students of the results of meetings, if I am able to, like legally and everything. And
10 seconds.
yeah.
No, I mean, I completely agree with Samantha. Actually, the first time I heard about this portfolio was actually when I talked to Jenna Massey. She actually brought it up, and I was like, oh, cool, this is actually something that exists. And you know, I find that UBC has a fairly poor track record of getting things done properly for students. I mean, you see the current bus loop right now. How long has that been there? It wasn't supposed to be like this. This is something that shouldn't exist. If you were supposed to have a separate transit facility, and instead the bus loop was something temporary, ends up being something permanent. Same with the building of the micro units and the housing. I mean, it's ludicrous in a lot of ways. We can barely afford housing anywhere in the city. The micro units, I think the pricing is a joke. We need to push a lot harder for
10 seconds.
this area. And I look forward to hopefully learning more about it in months.
Thank you. You can hold on to the mic there, and we're going to go the other way for our candidate questions. Do you have any questions you'd like to pose at this time?
In the area of every year, at least that I've heard, I've heard the same spiel from the AMS University, which is the university proposes and pushes through tuition reforms. We cry bloody murder, and then nothing is done. What will you do differently next year to have this constant battle between us and the university? And
You can just pass that to Samantha. Do you have 1 minute? Yeah, I'll clarify for you. What would you do to end the back and forth between university and students in the EMS, especially when it comes to tuition issues? The university every year raises tuition 3% every year. Students make a big deal about it, and then nothing happens. What would you do to settle that argument? What's his question?
I think that there being a backlash from the students is a good sign because it means we're paying attention, we're getting angry, we're getting passionate, and it's something that we care about because it affects all of us. And the back and forth, I'd like to build relationships with the university and do this office's best to continue to have conversations, try to at least allocate the increases in tuition to places that will benefit students, and have more of a conversation rather than back and forth.
Great. I'll pass that off to Hassan.
Yeah, so I guess a big area where this office would come into contact with various university bodies would largely be centered around advocacy. So I believe that university-based advocacy needs to be coupled with good relationships with a number of different university bodies. And so referring to tuition specifically, I think the university administration is aware that students overwhelmingly oppose these tuition increases. But nevertheless, if these tuition increases are inevitably happening, how do we set up some sort of system or moving forward where students are consulted appropriately on a lot of these issues? And that's something that I believe I would bring to this before.
Excellent. We'll move the next question to Samantha. Do you have any questions for your other candidates? No? Okay. Hassan, do you have any questions for your fellow candidates? Excellent.
Can I target a particular candidate?
You can ask a particular person, yes.
Andrew, this question is for you. I know a big part of your portfolio focuses on holding the BBC Board of Governors accountable to a lot of what's been going on recently and advocating for increased transparency. And I just wonder, as the VP academic, how you would go about doing that. Is this working?
Yes, it is. I am an optimist. I actually like to think that people will debate. I always like to think that the best idea will come out on top. And, I'm going to go to the board of governors. This is exactly what I will do if I have the opportunity, which is, we're not asking for free tuition. We're not asking for free rent. We're not asking for the sky and the moon. All we're asking for, really, is for some basic transparency and accountability. We see this with our municipal government. We see this with our provincial government. Justin Trudeau was elected on these issues. I mean, we're not a third world dictatorship. We can have these things. It's really not a radical idea. And, if they really don't want to talk about it, fine. There's a provincial election just around the corner. We're more than happy to talk with the government about this. They want votes. We have votes. If you fix this, we'll be more than happy to. We can't endorse it, but we're more than happy to give votes wherever you are willing to send them to help us.
Excellent. Does anyone have a rebuttal? You have 30 seconds.
In terms of the how you would go about doing that component, I know you mentioned that you would lobby the provincial government. I want to make clear that would be part of the externals portfolio and not necessarily the academics portfolio.
You have a 30-second response to that.
No, I totally understand, which is why I want to work with. I don't want to go straight to the provincial government screen like murder. I'm more than the very first thing that I will do, which is go to the board of governors and work with them first and see if we can resolve this. And maybe between both of us. I think that the best idea is to always win. So I think they're the reasonable people. I don't think that they are an evil organization as we sometimes portray them. I think they're more than willing to work with us on other issues, like hopefully this.
Yes, thank you. We have time for one more question from each candidate.